YouTubers. So have you ever heard the term row him up the Salt River? It was a political term that was used all through the 19th century and all the way up to the 60s, but is now long forgotten. And I'll show you a few tokens about the Salt River right after this. To be rowed up Salt River was the political equivalent to losing, and it's a saying that was used in the early 19th century all the way up to the 20th century and kind of petered out in the mid 20th century. So for over 100 years plus, Salt River was part of the political landscape, and a lot of people knew it and joked about it. So it was supposed to have started in the election of 1828. So Henry Clay hired an oarsman to take him to a political function, a speech of some kind. And the oarsman was a supporter of Andrew Jackson. So he rowed Clay up the river, but rowed him up the Salt River instead. So I guess a lot of rivers had a little offshoot that was called the Salt River. And of course, river travel was, prominent in those days. So a lot of people knew that, going up the Salt River was like going up a dead end, taking a wrong turn. So it kind of transferred to politics. So this is a token for William Henry Harrison. It's a lot like his other political campaign medals, but this one is sending Martin Van Buren up the Salt River. So it shows the steamer Van Buren, or steamboat Van Buren, Locofoco line, and Locofoco was kind of a term for Democrats at the time. For Salt River Direct, it shows a steamship, 1841 on the top. So this is for Martin Van Buren's loss. He gets to go on a trip up the Salt River. There were also many paper tickets for Salt River, and that's a subject for another video. Here's another medal. It has the Great Republican Victory of 1880. Then on the back, it shows good for a free passage on the steamer Hancock. And it's for Salt River Direct, Chinese line. So Hancock was the loser in this race. So James A. Garfield was the victor. It's kind of funny that it says the Great Republican Victory, because honestly, I think that while Garfield won the Electoral College, the popular vote was within, it was less than 2,000 votes total. And yeah, it's not the millions of voters that we have today, but it was still a few million people who voted, and it was within 2,000 votes. So it was a very close election. So to call it a great victory was kind of funny. Also on the back of this, in the center of the steamship, it says 329, which is usually on anti-Garfield items. So I think that this is kind of making fun of both sides. But again, it's another medal token that shows the Salt River and how, as a political term, it was used quite a bit at the time. If you read political cartoons of the time, you would see references to Salt River all over the place. And of course, we're not talking about Salt River, Arizona, which might be kind of why the saying died when there actually became a place that was popular. So here's the last one that I have. It's good for one trip, Salt River, 1896. This is one free silver dime. So this would be for William Jennings Bryan. When he ran for president, he wanted to put the United States on the gold and silver standard. And to do that, he wanted to kind of price fix silver. He wanted to fix silver so that silver would be worth 16 ounces of silver would be worth 1 ounce of gold. So, and it's kind of to make a point, you started seeing things like this, which would show you how much silver would need to be in a coin to make, at that ratio. And so this is supposed to be a dime. This is a huge exaggeration, but it's one of those things that became popular at the time. You see a lot of these, and this one just happens to be good for a trip up the Salt River, but you see a lot of Bryan dollars from that era. In fact, there's a whole book about them. And in that book, this one's not listed, but there is one from the election of 1900, which William Jennings Bryan ran again. And I have seen one in auction that had kind of a wreath on each side here that this one doesn't have. So this is a totally different variation of this token. They could have all been made from the same die, just over the, it was just recarved a couple times. And I think it's cast in lead. It's pretty heavy. But those are the medals for Salt River. Like I said, there are paper tickets as well, which I find even more interesting. Might do a video on those someday, or might do a longer video on the Salt River just in general. I hope that you've enjoyed this video. If you did, please hit the like button and subscribe, and thanks for watching.